I love the theme of this conference because it is 100% possible to live well despite, even because of this disease. I had always dedicated my life to making a difference, teaching, working nonprofit, and volunteering as much as possible. As I became disabled, I feared I wouldn't be able to do that anymore, and with no purpose, I felt lost. But sarcoidosis actually helped me find myself. Everything I've learned has empowered me to pay it forward to support my new community.
Our mission is rooted in preserving and continuing the vision of my late husband, Bernie Mac, who used his voice, his platform, and his purpose to bring attention to this disease. He believed in bridging the gap between the medical professionals who treat sarcoidosis and the patients who live with it every day, while providing support, education, and hope. Our vision is to provide hope to sarcoidosis patients everywhere, especially those who lack access to proper care. Through continued research and advocacy, we aim to be part of the solution, one step closer to understanding this disease and ultimately finding a cure. Sarcoidosis patients deserve the same urgency, attention, and level of care as those facing cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and HIV. No one should suffer in silence, and no one should be overlooked. We must move forward together. Empowering the patient journey means creating a life rooted in strength, support, and positivity. It means showing up, not just in words, but in actions also. One of Bernard's greatest legacy is reminding us that we all have a responsibility to care for one another in meaningful ways. Let us stay in this fight together so that no more lives are lost to sarcoidosis and so that hope continues to grow stronger every day.
But you can get bone marrow involvement in sarcoidosis that can cause an anemia, low blood cell count, or low white cell count, or even low platelet count. But also, a lot of patients with sarcoidosis, some of the drugs, not prednisone, but like methotrexate and other drugs, can also lower your blood counts. But there are blood tests available. They're not 100% accurate, which can give you an idea of how much sarcoid inflammation is being caused in your body. So we look at each patient more individually. And I think the main issue often in sarcoidosis is sometimes these granulomas that we talked about can cause scarring. And if they cause a lot of scarring, that's usually when we know the sarcoidosis condition is pretty advanced.
We know that patients who have sarcoidosis tend to have a fatigue. It doesn't always work the converse. In other words, patients who have prolonged chronic fatigue, are they more likely to have sarcoidosis? It doesn't necessarily work that way.
When you live with a condition like sarcoidosis, the fatigue just isn't in your body. It's in your mind and it's in your spirit. You woke up this morning with sarcoidosis. You didn't choose it, you didn't invite it, but you're carrying it. And often the heaviest part of the load isn't just the inflammation in your body, in your lungs or your eyes or your skin, but it's the invisible backpack every day. And inside of that backpack, there are rocks of uncertainty. And so, wondering if you'll have a flare tomorrow, grief, maybe missing the person you were before the brain fog, or having lost someone to this condition, and then isolation, because no one really understands the struggles that you have on a daily basis. Fatigue is not laziness, and brain fog is not a lack of intelligence. Shortness of breath is not a panic attack, although it can trigger one. So the first step on our roadmap is normalization with agency. You are not weak for feeling anxious about a lung function disease. You're a human with a nervous system that is on high alert. In sarcoidosis, success is not 100% completion of whatever the task is, but let's look at it as 70% exertion. So, for example, if you think you can walk 20 minutes, walk for 14 and then rest. Or if you think you can work 3 hours straight, do 2 hours instead. And why 70%? It's because the remaining 30% is the energy you reserve for joy, for emergency, or just simply to be present. It's the energy you use so that you're not snapping at your partner at the end of the night or crying in the floor with exhaustion. Because living with sarcoidosis means you stop borrowing energy from tomorrow to try to feel normal today. When you start to feel the panic rising, do not Google. I repeat, do not Google. Do not open a new tab because your 3 a.m. brain cannot differentiate between a 1998 case study and your current reality. So instead of saying something like, I'm stupid for worrying, I would say, consider, I'm noticing that I'm having a thought that this is a flare. Labeling the thought as just a thought takes away its power. It's the difference between being in the storm and watching the storm from the house. Community is just not a nice to have, but with a chronic illness, it is an evidence-based medicine for the soul. It reduces your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and it helps to build resilience. But sarcoidosis is a relational diagnosis. It happens to you, but it also echoes through the people who love you and treat you. So first to the caregivers and loved ones tuning in right now. I see you. I know perhaps you're off camera and you want to get it, but the truth is you're also carrying a unique invisible backpack as well, which is filled with anticipatory grief. So mourning the plans you had that had to be changed and helplessness because you cannot fix what your loved one is struggling with. And also compassion fatigue because you're doing all the things. You are managing medications, appointments, the household mood, and you may forget to eat or shower. And so here is your prescription. And I want you to write this down as if you were giving a script to a pharmacist. And that is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be a stable anchor if you are drowning too. The goal of mental health is to reclaim the steering wheel of your life, even when sarcoidosis is in the passenger seat.